I'd like to welcome our last panelist of the day, Yannick Blanc, President of the Futuribles International. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I've been a chairman of Futuribles for just a few years, so I had to interview Hugues de Jouvenel, who is the past president, about the 50th anniversary of the birthday of the federation. This federation was founded, as you know, in Paris in May 1973. The conference, which was hosted by Futuribles, brought together a number of people from different disciplines who had played a pioneering role in thinking about the future and wished to promote this way of thinking on a global level, while also integrating greater cultural diversity into this emerging field. The participants at the conference came from many different countries, including the US, the UK, Ireland, Norway, Austria, Italy, and Romania. And they were also representative from UNESCO and the OECD. Although they shared a desire to promote reflection on the future, there were significant differences of opinion or even of ideology among them. Some were more motivated by a desire to promote Western-inspired foresight and were keen to build bridges with their colleagues in Eastern Europe. Others were more concerned with spreading the word of the global South, and still others were driven by a desire to promote values of world peace or even values of an ecological future. This was a moment when the prosperity of the post-war reconstruction period for Europe, as for the US and Japan, seemed to be drawing to a close. Furthermore, the Cold War division between the Eastern and Western blocs in Europe, as well as the global North-South divide, were already raising major concerns about the future in economic, social, cultural, and political terms. Evidence of this can be seen in the conference organized in September 1973 in Bucharest on the common future of human beings, and the one held in Dubrovnik in 1976 on world alternative system versus needs. One of the main reasons for holding these two conferences in Eastern Europe was precisely to facilitate the circulation of scholars from Eastern European countries at a time of relative calm in the Cold War. The years following that Paris conference saw the last flare-ups of the Cold War with the invasion of Afghanistan and the so-called Euro-missile crisis before the rapid decline of the communist bloc. This seemed to be a moment of hope. In 1990, I was in Geneva within the United Nations system. The Berlin Wall had just come down, and I was able to witness Nelson Mandela's first appearance in an international forum. That same year, Francis Fukuyama wrote his famous book based on his 1989 paper about the end of history, as you know. But excessive optimism is not propitious to a future questioning attitude, as we should remember that it was also in 1990 in Geneva that the IPCC published its first assessment report, quite a serious basis for future studies. Yet, it took our societies another 30 years to become truly aware of the irreversible changes to the climate, the sixth mass extinction and the depletion of natural resources. In the meantime, we have decoded the human genome and invented genetic engineering. And we are on the brink of overturning the age-old symbolic orders of gender and sexuality, of extending the concept of rights to the entire natural world, and to transform our own life cycle in hope of living longer. In other words, we are in the process of radically transforming the human condition itself. Today, 50 years after the creation of the WFSF, its conference is opening in a more somber climate, global climate. Foresight is now more necessary than ever if we are to address our current challenges through collective action. To those who worry about the radicalization of opinions and attitudes, we must remind them that it is first and foremost our confrontation with reality that is becoming a radical and radicalizing experience, especially since half a century after the end of the great ideological narratives, we are now seeing other ground narratives running out of steam. Ecological and anthropological ruptures are making both progressive and conservative narrative ineffective. The ecological crisis, because it threatens the future, and anthropological changes, because they make a mockery of our illusion of permanence. This helps to understand the virulence of the culture wars that are erupting and persisting all over the planet. Each power, finding itself unable to control the course of events and to convincingly promise a radiant future, instead seeks to rally its followers around its particular totem in fear of some universal threat. Are we doomed to be embroiled in these cultural wars as well as in real wars? Faced with this prospect, the foresight approach becomes an invaluable tool. It does not diminish the scale of changes that are already irreversible, nor the difficulty of the choices that lie ahead, but it calls on all our resources of knowledge and imagination in order to replace ineffective dread with lucidity. Faced with the upheavals of the world, it's not illegitimate to sound the alarm, to call for vigilance, or to promote certain values, provided that our controversies are expressed within a shared epistemic community, not as one of a single shared truth, but that of a plurality of accepted and recognized knowledges. After taking stock of what has already changed in our way of being human, we need to discern the choices that lie open to us and their possible consequences. In this sense, foresight is an alternative to culture wars. It allows us to survey uncertainties, risks, and resources. It transforms the arena of posturing and ranting into an agora of hypotheses and aspirations. The task at hand for foresight work is certainly not to ignore or avoid controversy and conflict, but to prevent them from fueling the rhetoric of hatred and war. To achieve this, we should try and reconcile the men and women of our time with the future. I thank you and wish you a peaceful and fruitful conference.
Thank you so much.